Ready?
Busking it's just, for me, it's peace of mind, being able to come out and set up and play my guitar and sing for people.
I know that I can connect with people, like a direct connection that I can't do in any other way, and I don't find very often in the world.
So there's this sense of wonder. For me, that kind of reminds me of childlike experience when everything was brand new. Wow, what is that? And so if someone has heard of it and they come to a show, then they know what to expect. But on the street, it's just a delightful surprise.
My name's Sparrow, and I'm in the band The Resonant Rogues.
I'm Keith Smith, and I grew up in Wisconsin. I've been busking since I was 16.
My name is Andrew J. Fletcher, and I'm a piano player. I've been playing piano since I was 10. That makes 21 years. It's long enough for my piano playing to have a drinking habit.
Man, why don't you do some introducing?
Well, we are the Big Nasty Jazz Band based out here in Asheville, North Carolina. And I play the fiddle. I'm Matthew Heckler. This is Jeff Loop's bass on bass. We got Tony Costa, who rotates from guitar to six-string banjo, one of my favorites. Mr. Michael Moravitz on the cornet, I believe, right? And Shanty Town on the clarinet.
Ready? Yes. I'm Jimbino Vegan. I'm from London. I play a mixture between jazz and original music. I rap, I dance on the streets.
My name is Mark Hennessy. I'm a violinist and composer that plays under the name To All My Dear Friends. I've been playing the violin for about 18 years now.
My name is Peter Levitov, and I play the steel handpan, also known as a hung, and didgeridoo. I've been playing the didgeridoo for about 4 years.
My name's Abby the Spoon Lady, and I'm one of less than 5 professional spoon players in the United States. I play the spoons, and currently I'm playing in Asheville, North Carolina.
Hey, I'm Chris Rodriguez from Asheville. I play guitar, harmonica, suitcase, and the license plate. License plate I made out of a boat tag off my papa's old boat trailer.
Hi, we're the Stillwater Hobos. This is Will Teller. This is Austin Walker. That's Taylor Posey, and I'm Michael Malchetti. We play and we give the people that high mountain sound. If there were a language in heaven, it would be music.
Like the blooming angels.
Like the blooming angels!
Busking and a busker generally defines a person that is on the street performing with the expectation that they will receive some money for that performance. But that captures a huge, huge range of people, from just standby musicians to massive professional circle shows that get 200 plus crowds. The origins of busking go way, way, way back. We've got to think about it in context, because right now we're living in this world where, you know, it's all entertainment, it's all smartphones, it's all instant. You can watch DVDs, you can listen to music on the radio, and this is a fairly recent thing. If you don't have to go back very far to have none of that instant access to entertainment. And buskers, at the end of the day, they're storytellers, they're entertainers. Traditionally, they were carriers of news. They were very nomadic people that moved from town to town, and they would share their stories and share their news and share that entertainment in return for, you know, housing, money, food.
Hey!
mountain breezes as they blow echo down to the plains below. The big tall men are on the go in the hills of Connemara. Gather your pots and your old tin cans, the mash in the car and the barley in the ram. Run like the devil from the excise man when the smoke come rising burning.
Well, busking always looked like it was a lot of fun to me. You know, even before I was a performing musician, it looked like these guys. It looked fun. It looked, it looked real. It looked like there was no frills, just you and the audience and whatever you brought with you. And you don't need the consent of a venue. You don't have like this layer of booking and bureaucracy that you have to put together for it.
At the gate, glory be to Paddy for the drinking is straight in the hills of Connemara. Gather your pots and your old tin cans, the mash in the car and the barley in the bran. Run like the devil from the excise man, and the smoke come rising burning.
Busking is, I'd say, performing some type of art on the street for passerbys.
It's performance that generally you can do almost any time for 2 people or for 200 people. And you can do all sorts of different things. Not everything. There are some things that the police probably give you a problem for doing. But you can do a lot of cool performance stuff, maybe make a little bit of money. And it's nice. It's a good freedom to have.
I would consider it juggling, doing balloon animals, being a statue.
A lot of times it's music, but you also see puppetry and really strange performance art, like, like strange interpretive dancing.
There's street performers, and then there's street musicians. And you can be a very, very good street musician and not be a street performer, Walk-by acts is what a lot of folks call them, where it's just, one guy with a guitar, and they're not necessarily gathering a crowd, might have 1 or 2 people listening to them or people passing change as they're walking by because it's pretty, but they're not really having a crowd. And then there's street performers who are wanting to put on a show. They want you to stick around, more so bands and magicians or jugglers, you know what I mean, where there's a little bit more interaction with the other folks around.
The act of bringing music or art to the street, I think, in essence, is an opportunity to expose people to things that they wouldn't normally get to see in their day-to-day life. And I think that that's one of the aspects that is so important about street performance is so many people say, wow, I've never seen the didgeridoo or magic or sword swallowing or juggling, or even someone told my friend the other day, I've never heard a violin in person. And those kinds of things are really important, I think.
My name is Bobby Sachs, and I have been a musician for at least, say, 50 years. You can bring happiness to a place, out busking, too. Because music has this, it's something about music that everybody loves.
It's really easy to get into your social, economic, racial bubble. And the diversity that the street brings in different cities and in Asheville in general, if I can take time to try to understand these people, then I broaden my scope, my view of the world greatly, and I'm a richer person because of it.
One of the best examples that I saw for why buskers are important was there's a guy called the Bushman in San Francisco, and all he does is he grabs a few random bush branches. I don't know where he gets them from, but they're real bush branches, and he sits on the floor on the sidewalk and hides behind these bush branches, and people walk by, and every now and again he'll go rah and jump out on people, and he'll terrify people. They'll be completely like leaping in the air in fear, and then you see anger pass over their face because they've been embarrassed and they want to go and hurt him, but then they see that there's a huge crowd all the way down the sidewalk, all lined up against the wall. It's incredible what he's doing, because we all walk around in these bubbles all the time, and we never break out those bubbles, and we don't trust people in their own little bubbles, and it's just this horrible society. You know, humans are meant to be community-driven people, and yet we all exist in our own little space. And what he does is he completely bursts that bubble.
I think about the buskers on the street, and I walk by them sometimes, and maybe when I was doing that too, I would see people walk by, and you don't want to necessarily judge people, but you see this person in the suit and that person in this, and you kind of see who they are. And I sometimes walk by these buskers and stop and sit and watch and listen, and I wonder if they know that I was them, And I know that they don't. I feel connected to those people, not just because I experienced that, but because I was part of the culture that shared music in that way. It was somewhat, guerrilla style, going around trying to make people listen to something beautiful around surrounded by concrete.
So busking is a form of street performing. It's basically just another term for street performing. And it's different in every single town all around the world.
Keith has played a lot in Seattle and Boulder.
San Francisco.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. I've busked in Burlington, Vermont, Portland, Maine, New York.
The US, France, Italy, Slovenia, Croatia.
New Orleans, Nashville.
Belgium, that was pretty good too.
That place is awesome.
The Netherlands, Spain.
New York City. Burlington, Vermont, that's a good one. We were just there.
Barcelona.
Yeah, Barcelona.
Paris.
Toulouse.
Wherever we go,
Greece, Germany, Denmark.
Europe and in Israel and Eastern Europe and then Ireland and kind of everywhere that we made it to.
Chattanooga, Charlotte, Charleston, Savannah.
Turkey. Cyprus.
A bunch of small mountain towns all over the country and various places.
Then Berkeley, California, Venice Beach, Hollywood Boulevard, San Francisco,
Mongolia, China, Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia.
Eugene and Portland, Oregon were pretty nice too. Asheville seems to be like the East Coast of like all those other cool West Coast towns where this is cool to do.
And Switzerland, you didn't know.
Switzerland, yeah. There's a couple in Europe I think I missed, and then Canada.
Each town has its own rules that are written by the city, and then they have their separate street rules, which are basically written by the performers, but they're unwritten code, For example, in Asheville, there's an unwritten code that you play for no more than 2 hours, and if someone asks you for the spot, you're honest about it, and you say, okay, I've been here for 2 hours, you can have it. And there's various other rules like stay 45 feet away from another performer, but that's written in the code, and so you've got these different types of rules. When it comes to Asheville in particular, everyone's really friendly about it. I've traveled around, I've street performed other places around the world, and it can be difficult and it can be cutthroat. And yes, everybody's out there, they're trying to make a dollar, and so it can be hard at times. But in Asheville, it just seems like everybody's so friendly about it, and the rules that we have cultivated, those unwritten codes like performing for 2 hours at a time, are really well balanced with the needs of the city and the needs of the performers.
When you're stepping into a spot, if there's somebody that's been there before you, usually it's a 2-hour rule, like you said. But a lot of times, buskers read each other. And what I realize is that if you really want to play, it just opens up. And I've done that with other buskers. If there's a need to play, it seems like the spirit of the music comes through, and everybody just cooperates with each other.
Well, I started playing guitar it was about 5 years ago. I was 20 when I started playing guitar, and my dad was like, I always see these guys downtown playing, you should go and try. And I was like, I don't know if that's for me. And then he was like, just try it. He was like, you never know what could happen. And so I tried it one day, and I knew 2 songs, and that was Alanis Morissette, Ironic, and Halo by Beyonce. And then I had an original song that I had written called Blue Skies. And I played those 3 songs over and over and over to different crowds, And I just got really good feedback from everybody and sold CDs, It was really cool. So after that, I was just kind of sold on it. As street musicians, we've kind of formed like our own little guideline of, play 2 hours. If there's somebody waiting, move on to the next spot, or give them the spot, if they want it.
That's what holds it all together for us, is honoring that 2-hour rule. And everyone pushes it a little bit. People will drag their set up in order to get a better time slot, or if no one has come up to them, they'll stay longer. But generally speaking, that's what the conflicts are about, is, oh, you've been here more than 2 hours. No, I haven't. That kind of thing.
Well, that's the whole thing with busking too, is that it's like you were talking about, like the rules that everyone, unofficial rules that become official, that everyone follows. That all depends on dialogue that everyone has to have in order to respect each other and make it work for everyone.
So I've heard stories where people got into fights and stuff like that, but I can't really imagine that, I haven't seen it, so everybody's really chill.
Seems to be a respectfulness of being able to walk up to somebody while they're playing and ask them how long they think they might be, and maybe hang out for a half an hour to an hour off to the side, kind of like wait your turn kind of thing. And rules, I guess the city does have some rules. I don't know. Our rules are, I just kind of like, don't play too close to me.
It's called respect,
Yeah, 5 guys playing jazz.
Where the real conflict occurs is there's people that are affected by that use of the public space, like businesses. And those businesses are paying taxes, and they're paying leases or mortgages on that property. And while that doesn't necessarily give them a higher right, it's definitely something that buskers could do themselves a favor if they're respected, that there's other people with those wants and needs for that public space. So if buskers could really take that on board and start working with the businesses, then I kind of feel as if that relationship can be a positive relationship.
The relationship to other buskers, for me, is similar to the relationship with businesses. It's about creating a dialogue. You know, find out what do the businesses want and need to feel respected. What do they desire? Same thing with the buskers. There is a certain sense of community and connection, definitely, and I've also seen a sense of separation where it's easy on the street to feel a sense of competition. Because, you know, truly in Asheville, there's 4 or 5 spots that are really prime spots to be able to sustain yourself full time. And so this cannot infinitely support artists. And so naturally there is this sense of competition that can arise.
So there's definitely, you know, a respect aspect that you have to kind of keep in mind when you're a street performer.
I love having a good musician on the street. Mark just recently, his music is really great. He does, you know, he's doing original and he plays a violin. And the energy that he puts into it, I was so enamored that I went over to him and asked, could you play in front of my place? I mean, and he excites people all the time. I don't know how long he'll last here. Maybe he's going to move on. I don't know. But right now, I'm benefiting.
Busking for me is a way to connect directly with people. You're bringing music to them instead of them coming to the music.
The way I feel about the Buskers, I love the music. I love the fact that you get this crazy diversity of people, whether it be playing a kazoo or whatever they play. Some of them are extremely talented, I'd say most are. As a rule, if you walk up to them, speak to them with respect, they will act upon that with respect. So that's been my secret of dealing with the Buskers all these years.
There is, and I'd like to see it grow, this sense of connection. And I know that some people have been at it longer and they see people come and go, so I think it takes time sometimes to create a relationship or a sense of respect and understanding where dialogue can happen.
There's very limited spots in Asheville and a lot of bands. And so when you have a business not wanting to communicate that way and just make it so that people can't play, then it restricts it even more and makes it even harder for people.
It seems to be working right now. There are definitely incidences that I've heard about where there are business owners who are hostile, sometimes very hostile.
It kind of does boil down to just mutual respect, and some business owners think they have a better game going and don't want to deal with you and talk down to you, and then when that happens, they get ostracized by the community. The whole busking community is like, that guy is lousy, you know? So,
like, he literally has lice.
yes.
You know?
He's a lousy guy.
Well, I am really sensitive to their needs and ours as well, but it has to be a mutual respect.
Having such a large area in front of the shop and such large windows, it's a natural spot for busking. We've generally had a really good relationship with the Buskers. We enjoy having, you know, performances occurring right outside the windows, and people stop and pay attention, and that will make them look in our windows and see what we have going on, and often they'll come in because something made them stop outside.
There are cases where some of the local businesses don't like buskers or selective about buskers, but I think that's the minority. Most of them it brings more attention to their storefront and gives them something to listen to, something to look at. So I think generally our relationship is pretty good, as long as we're not disrespectful, not leaving trash around, or just basic human decency kind of things.
Our doors would get blocked with all the people in front, and so in the time, as long as the Buskers were playing, nobody would come into our store. And that would really, you know, infringe upon our sales at the end of the day. So a few Buskers, we told them about that and said if you could keep the door free. And when I had Mark in front of the store, it brought business. it was wonderful.
Yeah, I don't like making people feel uncomfortable. I have some friends who kind of enjoy making people feel uncomfortable, but but I don't like it, so I'm generally, I like to ask.
In Asheville, street performing falls under multiple municipal codes. One of them is panhandling, and panhandling is a homeless person asking for money, and yet you still have to follow the rules. You can't, they're really silly rules. Like let's say you walk up to me and you want to buy a CD. If I accidentally touch you, like I put my arm on your shoulder, a cop could give me trouble for that, because technically you might give me money for performing and I'm touching you. You know, like they're really silly rules that make sense when you think of like a homeless beggar on the street asking for money. But they do fall under the same codes when it comes to the city municipal code.
Regulation versus self-regulation or cultural regulation, it's such a it's a big question, but it's also like this real conflicted question.
The first bad sign is when they try to regulate it, and they always dress it up as something really nice. Oh, we're going to organize this, so we're making it good for the buskers. Exactly. That's terrible. Just let us alone. We know what's right. We've been doing this. There's never somebody who's ever played street music in charge of that policy. It's always the government, and they're always basically stamping it down. We don't want to upset anyone. We're here to share the music and have fun, so we're not going to play with places where it's not popular. We're going to stop if people are getting angry, and we're going to stay if people are having fun.
Personally, if I had to come down on regulation or self-regulation, I'd be more towards self-regulation, but that's not like anarchy. It puts a pressure on the buskers and the street performers themselves to form some sort of system which is robust and works for them, so that the city or the government doesn't feel the need to get involved.
It doesn't make sense to have some guy in an office regulating street busking. It just doesn't.
I think there's a lot you lose at that point. There's no way of quantifying what you're losing.
One, two. Everybody trying to take a piece of me, trying to steal this little light inside of me. But I feast on joy and hope is where I'll be. Oh, I know who I am.
So Las Ramblas is this strip that runs through Barcelona that everything we'd read and researched and looked, and there were videos all online, showed that Las Ramblas was this really, really active, awesome place to see street performers, just a huge variety.
In some places it's really difficult though, in some places it's illegal. Actually in Barcelona it's illegal. And so you have to kind of renegade busk and make sure that the police don't catch you.
All the musicians down there have like $50 instruments because all their instruments get taken from the police.
It was crazy that these fantastic musicians had become criminals because they were playing music for the public that loved them, but just through a city regulation, it was now illegal to do that.
Barcelona is a story about how they try to regulate it, and then all the musicians left, and it sucks now. And in 10 years, they crushed the amazing street scene. For what? I don't know.
Artists were being victimized by authority, which makes no sense on any level at all, because there's nothing criminal about that. And just seeing them playing a set and then having to run to the next square and following them through the cobbled streets of Barcelona in this beautiful setting, and yet it was illegal what they were doing. That was probably one of the most memorable or impactful experiences I had with buskers.
Oh, I know who I am.
I've been in places where permitted busking has worked, and I don't think Asheville is a place that needs it or it would work.
I'm at heart kind of an anti-regulations guy. So I think part of the magic and beauty of that culture is that these are free-spirited people in general, trying to make their way, make their art, make it publicly, and I feel like that would be hindered somehow by more regulations.
I don't know, I guess I kind of enjoy our little bubble here in Asheville of not having everyday regulations and all of us kind of getting to work with each other cohesively.
You can get a brochure off of the Asheville website for street performers that say, here are the rules, this is what you do. And they're very reasonable and they're not enforced. It's not, enforced very strictly. So they're just kind of safeguards there. So if there is a problem, there's a way to sort it out.
I feel like things are pretty great as they are because the buskers, the local buskers, like, we communicate together, we all have our own ideas of what our rules are, or whatever you want to call it, but I think we're doing a pretty good job of communicating together and making sure everybody gets a chance to play music and do their thing.
I don't want to see it happen. I think it introduces a certain stagnancy into the scene.
It just doesn't feel right. It feels like it takes away the universal quality, the accessibility of busking, and that's part of what's so beautiful about it.
It's just another hassle for people to have to, get papers or get a permit, or, it just takes away from just being able to go and pick where you want to play.
You have to be careful because anytime that you let somebody else choose things for you, then you start crossing that border where you're working for someone else. And a lot of people in Asheville have been talking about wanting permits, and there are other cities that also talk about it. They think that if they have permits, then it gets rid of the riffraff.
I don't think that it needs to be fixed. The quality of the street music I've seen here has been steadily increasing. The amount of it has been steadily increasing. And, a couple years ago, there's a couple guys I'd see and I'd be like, oh, that guy again, Boy, it's like he needs to tune his guitar and his voice. And, it's just, there's less and less of that.
Nashville talks about regulating and permits all the time, and they never fully pushed it on, but the truth is that people come from all around the world to open up a case on Lower Broadway because, they want instant fame. Even if it's true or not true, that's not the point. That dream is what's important.
It's not like it needs to be very complicated, it's like people can talk to each other and figure it out. It's not like there's, all these different places and people and,
I'd much rather folks speak to each other than have the city put more regulations on it because we can't speak to each other.
I feel like the busking culture needs to be freeform on some levels in order for it to continue to be what it is. Otherwise, then it becomes industry, like the other aspects of music where it's regulated and people are choosing and stuff like that. And I think that's industry. Busking is busking,
I got the lazy man blues. I got nothing to do. The box of the tools, but I only use a few.
My name is Jessica Thomason. I am the studio manager at Echo Mountain Recording Studio. We've recorded all sorts of people from Zach Brown to Steep Canyon Rangers, Steve Martin, Flogging Molly, T-Bone Burnett, Band of Horses, Avett Brothers. In terms of buskers, I'm glad they're here. I think that they add a lot to the city in terms of just the eclecticness of Asheville. But it's just interesting to say I'm making a choice to be a career as a busking musician versus a touring musician that plays all different cities, a different city every night, and growing that way.
Generally speaking, the music industry, the way it's evolved, doesn't respect artists at all. That's what I came out of coming into busking, is playing bars and festivals and all that. And a lot of people want you to play for exposure or for beer. There's this assumption that music is not a profession like other professions, that we deserve to get paid like professionals. We're trying to make our living.
Whenever I would be playing in Nashville, it was financially better to be playing on the street. Nashville, they're paying the bands $40 a band member to play like a 4-hour set, and then they get tips, and the tips aren't very much when you're in a bar.
You have the same part in the income as the guy that busses the tables, except it took you 20 years to be able to do that.
For me, on the street, there's a two-way dynamic that can be more rich than what I've experienced like in a bar or a traditional music venue, where people feel more comfortable to engage with the artist and there's more space for the artist to engage with the people. I'm giving something, and when people feel like they're receiving, and then they give back, whether it's in the form of a smile or just deeply expressing their gratitude, or $1 into the basket, or taking a CD. And it sounds really straightforward, but there's something that feels really sacred in that exchange.
I love playing on the street. It's the amount of contact you get with people as compared to a venue it's a greater volume. And in a venue you'll play for 100 people to 500 people, and busking you'll play for 1,000 people, 2,000 people throughout the day.
Cigarettes in the morning, walking hallways of this strange empty home, cold whiskey in the evening, every day now she's gone.
You're right in front of somebody, and people feel a lot less awkward about talking to you because you're right on the street, like right in front of them.
If you don't like the atmosphere, you can always just kind of pack up and move along.
You're not tied down to a schedule, and you get to like give random people this gift of music or whatever, and it's just kind of like an impromptu good time for people, which feels great, and it's really fun.
Playing on the streets, it just doesn't get any more, raw. It's just raw talent. You don't have a big PA system behind you. You don't have, the perfect microphones and all that, and the guy at the mixing board making sure you sound good. It's the raw talent.
Used to cry, just give me cornbread in the morning so early, where you took my.
I mean, you have to love music and want to be a musician, because this is not a career choice for the faint of heart. I mean, it's tiring. It's like being on the road and doing the grind and the day in and the day out, and just the practicing and everything, and there's so much that goes into it.
For me, like my development as a musician and my building a reputation and a career, it sort of co-develops, like playing in venues and playing on the street. But becoming a performer and being able to engage an audience, that is really the best school for that is the street.
You have to know how to engage the crowd. Also, you have to just be good at your instrument. There's the general what you have to do to be a musician, and then beyond that to be a busker is patience, ability to snatch the crowd, like get their attention.
We don't have like a vaudeville circuit anymore. You know, we don't have this kind of circuit that you can get on and that has a tough audience and you got to learn how to reach them. The street does that now too, and it's instant. You know when you're doing it right because there are people there, and you know when you've lost them because they're gone.
On the street, it's completely open. I can play whatever I want. I'm on my own schedule, and I'll see people who would never walk into that bar. People all ages, all ethnicities, all walks of life.
So you get the little kids dancing. So much fun. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
You know, babies and 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds. And that's really, really fun.
I play their songs, their nursery rhymes, songs, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, just as hard as I would play for an adult during summertime. There's no jive in my slide, in my glide at all times. I keep it hard the whole time.
To have families with small children coming and expressing their wonder and delight is extraordinary. It's extraordinary medicine for the performer and everyone watching.
So if you ever come to Clifton by sunset, just before the autumn rains touch the shore.
One of the most moving ones for me was a child was in a wheelchair rolling by with his parents, and he had some severe pervasive developmental disorders, and the child's eyes were rolling in his head and looked very distraught and uncomfortable in his body. And as he came to the music, he seemed interested in it. His eyes would fix on the instrument for longer, for a couple seconds here and there. So I took the instrument off of its stand, it's strapped in pretty tight, and I began to play over his body. And the didgeridoo is powerful because you can really feel the vibrations of the sound when the instrument is placed close to the body. And his eyes locked on me, and he began to smile, and his parents were really moved to see him interacting. And after that, I came down and began to overtone sing really close to him, and he was smiling and he began to sing with me. And yeah, after that, there was no money exchanging hands. There were, but we felt a really extreme closeness, him and I and his family. So we embraced as if we were family, and they left, and I don't know if I'll ever see them again, but that stays with me.
Thank you, folks. Thank you all very much. Those of you just joining us with 13 strings and a $2 bill. I'm Wyatt, and I'll be playing banjo and singing.
I'm Nora Jean, and I'm going to play mandolin today.
Well, if you didn't want me, then why'd you tell me so? If you didn't want me, then why'd you tell me so? If you didn't want me, then why'd you tell me so? Well, I won't keep hanging around, you don't know.
Well, another really nice thing about busking is that anybody can do it. You don't have to have nice clothes and the internet in order to be able to book everything. You can just show up in a town. If you're a traveler, you can go to a new place and just show up and find the place where there's people walking around and play in front of people. And it's a good way to meet people while you're traveling also. And a lot of times people will invite you in, give you a place to stay, give you food.
There are definitely a lot of buskers that are transient, and they go from place to place, and they are constantly testing the waters. A lot of the people that busk like that end up coming through Asheville at some point because of the reputation of this town, and it's getting known for music on the street. And it's not just locals, it's a lot of people that are just passing through.
Part of it's because Asheville's a great place to base out of to tour in the Southeast because you can get a lot of places fairly quickly, but also it's just, people keep hearing, I hear it has this great music community, and it does, because it's embraces people.
I think there's good inspiration to be gathered here too. Asheville's got a very good music scene, so.
There's some really rich, boring towns, medieval centers where no one ever busts, and you arrive and you make lots of money, but I wouldn't want to stay there because it's rich and boring. Yeah, and then there's some really cool places which are poor and funky, like New Orleans, like Barcelona used to be, like East Berlin, and little villages in China. And I like to hang out there, but you don't make much money, but it's cool.
A lot of the transient musicians that come through, they've got friends here. There's a support group. There's a support base here. So if they were to go to Charlotte, they might be homeless because there's not a support group there for street musicians that travel. But here there is.
I was in Berlin, and there's this jazz band that didn't have a fiddler, Busking. And I went up and was waiting for him to get done, and I was gonna offer my services, so to say. And they finished the song, and the guy was like, "Are you the guy from Deep Chatham?" which is a different band I play with. And I was like, "No crap, he knows me from Brooklyn." And then when I got back a month later to Woodstock, New York, I was in a coffee shop, and this guy was like, this German guy comes up and he's like, "Were you just busking in Berlin 3 weeks ago?" It was a pretty big circle area.
There's different places here that are known for, if you're on that circuit and you're a street performer, then it's a small community, really.
There's some of the travelers who are really honing their craft and are really good at what they do. And then there are some who have a couple of guitars and ukuleles and do it to pass the time and maybe make a couple bucks.
I've definitely met quite a few traveling buskers, that just come through and they'll set up for a day or two or the weekend and play, and then they're headed out.
For me, it doesn't really bother me that much. It's fine. I traveled, so I understand.
Well, I think a lot of the stereotypes in America, at least, of the busking subculture is these are, dirty, homeless hippies, and they're vagabonds or train hoppers or whatever. I think there's a percentage probably of the buskers that we see in Asheville that have that going on, but there's also a bunch of people that have houses and have maybe a day job somewhere else, and they're doing this either just for the love of the music, or they like performing outdoors to a crowd without having to deal with a club, or they're just trying to make a little extra money at the end of the week or whatever it is. So I think that there's some stereotypes in America that buskers confront that may be misconceptions really about who these people are.
No, but I agree. I think, it's just the general ethos in the States is people are like, what are you doing? Get a real job, and then they're like, how much money could you really make? As if that's why you're there or something.
I think in America, people see them, hippie, homeless, that's kind of the thing, or, but in Europe, you're playing on the streets, it's like a, respected piece of art that's happening publicly.
It's like a third way between being homeless and not having options, and, working very hard to pay your credit card bills and to keep the power on. It's like a third way between there.
Not homeless today. Still, so far.
I learned to play spoons by hopping trains. I wanted to be able to play music along with my other folks. I needed to earn an income. And so somebody taught me how to hold them and how to run them down my fingers, and I just kept fiddling with it ever since then. And now I'm the spoon lady gig.
You get off the train and you've been on it maybe for a day or two, and you're covered in coal and you're hungry and you need some water, and you're wandering from the train yard to wherever you can find civilization to try to get some of this stuff, and you need $3 so you can get some water and an orange. You know what I mean?
I grew up and was busking by the time I was 14 pretty steadily, and taught myself how to play violin on the streets, and that pushed me really far, because I knew I wasn't sounding very good for the first few years, and everyone else knew it, and then it's over time, that judgment's there, so you push yourself harder.
There were times when I chose to be on the street, and there were times where I got really lucky not to be there in bad circumstances. And so I see a lot of people who either don't have any choice or feel that they don't have any choice, and I definitely relate to them, and not that I feel sympathy, because a lot of them are really happy being where they are.
There's some home bums in Asheville that I love seeing. Like, they're really, really nice to run into, and like they're really friendly people. They'll tip us, they'll have a nice conversation, they're full of respect.
And then you get a lot of people that are really sweet, and they'll give you money, and you're like, no, you just hang on to you hang on to that. There's some good people out there, and there's also some good people out there that are rather imbibed, so to say.
I think that plays into the desire for regulation, because a lot of them have instruments and will play on the street.
They're gonna be there, and they have a right to be there,
Whatever the problems are, aside from Asheville being a traveling kid hub, you can't do anything about that. As long as Asheville is cool, Asheville will be a traveling kid hub, and you can't legislate it away.
We realize that if we make this a welcoming place for other musicians, that everyone is gonna get exposed to more music. We're all gonna get better from it. We're gonna have friends in lots of other cities that then we can go to.
Oh, I know I'm gonna miss it when I'm gone. No, I know I'm gonna miss it when I'm gone. Oh, that dirty old city where the people sure is pretty. Yes, I know I'm gonna miss it when I'm gone.
I'm always continually amazed to see how people are always so willing to help each other out. It's really an amazing thing to be a part of.
The streets, they don't kill me, then live.
I've heard the call for super band a couple times, and it's just sort of hey, we're doing a super band for so-and-so because of this. Come on, everybody come on out.
I've been fundraising using super bands to get my friends from Ukraine, where there's a civil war. I'm trying to raise $10,000 to get them over, and we got a little bit of money now. And it's just all people like, okay, yeah, we'll come and play one day a week for free. I guess it's the payback for the good life we lead, and to help others. It's our insurance.
All your colleagues come together, and they'll do a super band, and they'll donate that money toward whatever you need done.
Like they have a super band for Balkan style or jazz or whatever you got, and just you bring the chord chart so everybody can read it, and you just play.
It's sort of like an unofficial union almost, as in there's you've got a group out there of people who can help you when no one else can.
A couple weeks ago, Dwight got his guitar stolen and all his money, and they broke his guitar. Like some punk kids, like when he was busking. And his guitar got smashed and they took all his money. So the next day, everyone just got together, and we all played for a couple hours, and then we just give all the money to him. So he got his guitar fixed out of that deal, and it's a pretty cool thing that happens.
Recently, I've just started a group called the Asheville Music Professionals, which we've only had one meeting and we're getting off the ground. But basically, the goal of this group is to invite musicians and producers and engineers and venues and publicists, anybody who really works in music to be a part of it, that they can help to uplift the music community here in Asheville by basically working with venues to pay living wages, offering classes for musicians and how they can do things in terms of just education and further their career.
I think music is a way to show people who you are, and I don't mean that just as a person. I mean that as a community, and you know, as a group, as whatever, however you want to put it.
I've seen music change people's lives, and that's awesome.
It's just a way of release, you know, from, and not just bad things, you know, pain, joy, you know, putting positive energy out there.
She wants to go higher.
And it's like, what will happen to the next generation when they aren't allowed to go out and play on the street? That growth won't be there, and that's extremely important, especially for a future in music for the city. Yeah.
She wants to go higher.
And so street performing was a way for me to develop my sound and also make a decent living off of it.
For me on the street, if I'm getting focused on the money or focused on all of the quotas I feel like I need to meet, that all evaporates in a moment. When a child is enjoying themselves or someone is really receiving some nourishment from the experience, and it comes back full circle, and I'm more invigorated to bring more of myself.
And as a young man trying
I feel like busking just brings about this transforming energy, like it transforms people's days, and I like doing that. Yeah. Like it puts a feeling in the atmosphere of downtown that wouldn't be there.
and wonderfully made. So I be like someone else.
I really think that's what street performers do. They connect us back to reality, because you're not expecting it, you've not paid for the show, you're just walking along, and then suddenly you can be entertained and you can walk on, or if they're good enough you can stop and be a part of that and a part of the community of people watching them. It doesn't matter who they are, you now have a connection with more people, and you know the power of that is huge.
To confront in a world in which no one belongs. They want to go higher, away from all of this fiction, to a world where the picture is much clearer. They want to go
It's an Irish lullaby. 1, 2.
You're a bear in a sheepskin coat, and O'Donnell caught you on the boat. And 3 little piggies on a walking street have gobbled up all your corn to eat with a tooralooraloorayay, whack for the diddle or a die-o-may. Now Black Eye Jim has lost his way, saving his corn for a rainy day. And North Country Beagles have a run awry with a Billy O'Neill just a wondering why. Tooralooraloorayay, whack for the diddle or a